that what we are building is a new process.
The question is how we will implement and how we conduct a race against time, because that's what it's about.
J'espère qu'on aura vraiment des réalisations concrètes et on aura des annonces qui vont faire rapprocher les championnes des objectifs.
I think it's a good start. We explain why we are doing all this, and in of course very a good moment. I think there is a lot of interest. We obviously, and we will do every day a wrap-up of what we got, just to arrive at the high-level event, which will be the big momentum of these 2 weeks.
Welcome back to Global Village. I'm Buddy Cunanan. Tonight's topic is COP23 and the Manila Declaration. And joining us now is Cecil Guidote Alvarez, and she is the Director of Earthsavers, UNESCO Artists for Peace. Ms. Alvarez, welcome to Global Village. This is your nth time on the show. And it's because we share the same advocacy, which is fighting climate change.
Each other in bond.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
for the cultural communications exhibit portion.
Yes, and you know, exciting times because COP23 is starting in a few days, and you know, we had two very excellent resource speakers, Ray Guarin and of course Roberto Versola, and you were here listening in the studio to what we talked about. Any comments on the declaration and all this?
Both Ray Guarin and Robert Versola were part of the tripartite conference that was convened as a civil society initiative, and this was done through the efforts of former senators Gerson Alvarez and Joey Lina. See, both of them are very concerned because you have Sonny Alvarez involved in environment and climate change, and Joey Lina, who was also in the Senate, was very much involved with the issue of local government.
Yes.
He was also Secretary of
He was DILG at one point, yes.
So it was, in their point of view, it was so important because finally the Philippines signed the accord, because at first there was the threat that we would get out of the Paris Accord.
In fact, Mr. Versola said that some people are talking about reducing the commitment, things like that.
So it's so important that President Duterte listened to the better arguments that you don't have to be economically backward by being part of the Paris Accord, and that in fact it will open up new avenues for jobs, for other industrialized purposes that our country would need, but especially environmental protection, which is the womb of life.
Yes, yes.
And because he has already signed it and the Senate ratified it, we were able, or I was part of the Secretariat, the intention was, how do we make sure that we are going to fulfill our commitment?
Okay.
So a tripartite conference was called. All parts of civil society, government, both legislative and executive, as well as the international community. This program was under the patronage of UNESCO, the Director General, Irina Bokova, and she had a wonderful message. At the same time, it was also endorsed by the ASEAN Secretary General.
Yes.
So here you had international government and civil society converging, talking to each other, telling that, hey, we've got to coordinate, collaborate, and we must do a strong pathway to achieve it. And this is what the conference did at Manila Hotel.
Ergo,
for
and the
2.5
result was
days.
the Manila Declaration.
And the result is the Manila Declaration. And it was very important because it had the support of the Senate. You have, of course, Senator Legarda, who was there, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Chis Escudero, because education was very important as well. We had a number of senators supporting it, besides also in the House on the education sector as well, on their climate change office. So this is wonderful. And then we had all the different cabinet members participate to show what can they do or how can they cross, you know, cutting cross. Yeah, I mean, not going on a solo flight.
Yes, yes. And you know, this multilateral, multi-sectoral approach,
Yeah.
given the political muscle behind it from the president and now
Yeah.
major senators and even Congress, really makes you optimistic that this
Yes,
can
because
push through.
the report or the Manila Declaration was already submitted to the President through Cabinet Secretary June Evasco, and the report as well has been given to the senators. It's on the web, on the Tripartite Climate Conference. And what's so important is that everybody was involved. Transport was there, health, nutrition, everything is included in it.
Were you worried at one point that perhaps it would not be, would not push through this Manila
Yeah,
Declaration?
it was like miraculous in a short period, because the idea was, well, we have to do this and, you know, share it in bond, that here was a developing country, the Philippines was a leader of the vulnerable groups, and that we will do it. Unlike
and inspiring,
Trump
yes,
now,
compared to the United States, where their
compared to
president...
Trump, you know. At least our president
Very
gave
good.
his thing. And education is so important here, and cultural communications, because already you can see it can move, because there is already the law for free college education. That's already one step assisting the concept of education. You know,
Yes, yes.
transport. They're now talking as well of modernizing the jeepney. So there is a lot of things where our partnership is with the Climate Institute, which is Washington-based. Sagot Kita Bayan, yung grupo nila Joey Lina, and many other NGOs participated, even Climate Reality with Al Gore's
Yes.
group. So the idea is, here is a collective action. And surely, as Sunny said, it's doable. And you have the message coming from the UNESCO Director General, the ASEAN Secretary General, who sent a representative who came in the morning at 5 o'clock and left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just to share and endorse
Yes.
the value of this. But what was so important, besides all the technical issues that have to be understood, including the health needs, is education and culture.
And that's where I want to come in now. You've been attending the COPs for many years now. I don't
Yeah.
know, how many COPs have you attended,
I
Ms.
was,
Alvarez? Maybe
I
10
was with my
or-
husband in the first COP in Berlin.
So if you put it all
And
together,
then in
it's-
Kyoto,
yes.
and then we've been having all kinds of side events since Rio
and at
plus
every-
20 and COP.
Yes, and at
in
every
Doha.
COP, you have been pushing an arts agenda.
Yeah.
And specifically using arts to raise awareness of the problem of climate change and global warming.
Yeah, well, one very special thing we can contribute is we were able to secure the partnership of the Climate Change Commission, which is now headed by the acting secretary, si Manny de Guzman, and with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, which is with the support of the Executive Director, Rico Pableo, and the United Nations Philippines through UNIC coordinating this. We are going to have a soap opera on sustainable development goals.
Very good, very good.
Because you know, ask any teacher, and I don't think they can name the 17 Sustainable Development Goals off the cuff. You will need to share this, flesh it out in conditions and situations. So it's going to be on DCRH at Radyo Balintataw. And when we see that it's evolving well, it will have an English version, so it can be shared in the region.
Yes.
And it will also have a comics version, so that DepEd, CHED, they can use it almost as an illustrated theater manual.
And what a wonderful way to touch people's hearts through making these examples, making it something that they can relate to.
Yeah.
Something that they can relate in their lives.
And they
no?
can understand.
Mrs. Alvarez, we have about 3 minutes or 2 minutes to close. Let's
okay.
show some of the images that you brought.
Well,
with it to stress
for
arts and climate
instance,
change.
this is coming from Colombia, which had a very good peace process, right? Here you see the shrouds of sorrow, desaparecidos, refugees of climate and conflict. You can see the agony of widows, mothers,
And these
wives.
are things that these are images that you have presented at COP20 at the different COPs.
Yes, but
to
there will be
emphasize.
more. Like, for
Yes.
instance, you're
Yes,
coming in
I want to show
on
this.
refugees with a new painting from somebody who participated in
In
the
last
COP.
year's
Oh.
COP, yes, to show the relation between conflict and climate change and destruction of the environment.
You can see these photographs. Besides, we're so conversant about what's happening to us. This is also in Latin America. It's the same situation. And the plight of refugees in renderings. What is the agony of
And
being a refugee,
I think-
leaving your homeland?
And I think it's very
You know?
special you're doing this, Ms. Alvarez, because a lot of people, when they talk about climate change, they focus on the business side, they focus on the destruction of environment side, but so few groups are actually focusing on conflict and its effect on the environment, because it's like a
Look-
sideshow, basically.
look at the
but very
carbon
important.
conflict.
Yes.
With the war, all those more carbon is up in the air, so much destruction with all the bombs.
yes.
It's incredible. Besides the loss of lives,
It leaves a scorched earth,
yeah,
basically.
and the
That's what war
trauma that
does.
is left. It's really mental disability, besides physical disability. So you really have to use all possible means of healing, of popularizing science. What, for instance, Ray and Robert Versola was saying, those are a lot of technical things. You have to popularize science, situate it in actual conditions they can relate, with characters that they can identify, so that it becomes more vivid, they can be fully informed, they can understand, they can be motivated
to change, to act. And what better
to be
way
transformed.
than through the arts? Ms. Alvarez, we've come to the end of the show again. It goes by very fast and topic-less, and guests like you and Ray and Mr. Versola. Any last words for the audience before we close?
Well, we're really very hopeful, as that's why this Tripartite Climate Conference and the Manila Declaration was forged by so many sectors, really committed to save lives, to prevent the total destruction of our planet. And we really have to move. And again, what is happening in Bonn is very interesting, because the president of the COP is from Fiji. But because it's so vulnerable, they can disappear from the earth. And however, it's being hosted in Bonn, because that's where the secretariat is. And we're hopeful that the Philippines has the honor for launching the global peace movement, not by force, but by art, under UNESCO patronage. And that will mean artists from claimant countries all over, involved in the conflict of the China Sea, West Philippine Sea, to have a cultural diplomatic initiative and work towards peace.
Very good. Ms. Alvarez, thank you for coming to the show, and more power to you and your arts initiative, and I will see you in Bonn.
See you in Bonn.
Thank you very much. So guys, I hope
Okay.
you enjoyed tonight's topic on COP23 and the Manila Declaration. Join us again next week here in Global Village, and let us take you around the world. Till then, you all have a good evening. Huh?